AI and content creation. Hi, I'm Ralph Henderson, the host and executive producer of today's Global Supply Chain Marketing Group show, a professional development program for supply chain professionals like you. This is brought to you by Supply Chain Brain Media. Creating content for supply chain businesses does not have to be a headache. AI can do the heavy lifting. This class breaks down how AI tools can help you generate engaging blogs, reports, social media posts, and even videos without spending hours of staring at a blank screen. You'll discover how to use AI to simplify research, craft compelling stories, and make your content stand out in a really crowded market. Whether you're in logistics, manufacturing, consulting, procurement, distributor, solution provider, this session is going to show you how to turn AI into a secret marketing weapon. And you're going to save time while driving more leads and more business and become an authority in the supply chain industry. So, what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn how to optimize the utilization of ChatGPT. We're going to learn how to create a company persona. And we're going to gain a competitive advantage by analyzing industry leaders. And finally, we're going to easily highlight your people for a more human experience to capture leads. We are going to take questions today, so you can put those questions in the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. So, who's going to provide us with all of this information that I talked about? Well, good news. We have today Melissa Taylor. Melissa is the founder of rogerandmelissa.com. She's a well-known top strategic consultant, author, and sought-after speaker and mentor. Over her 50 odd years, Melissa has built 3 solid, successful, and profitable businesses. And now she simply wants to share those experiences with you. She's committed to always offering value, encouragement, inspiration, and motivation, along with practical strategies and applications that can be implemented immediately. And with that, I would love to bring up Melissa Taylor. Melissa, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here. We can't tell you how much we appreciate your time and your valuable insight.
Well, it's exciting to be here. I look forward to this conversation. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is kind of a lab. So I hope that everyone has a couple of different things open on their desktop, and we'll be going through that and using some of that.
Excellent. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Have a great show.
Yeah, that's great. So thanks so much. So again, my name is Melissa Taylor, and this is the third one that we've done. And so in the first couple of things, we look here in session one, we actually talked about what makes good content for social media, for your blog, for your business. And in session one, we talked about how content really does a couple of different things. It touches the heart, it influences the mind, it equips your hands, and it moves feet. And that is really important to remember. With every piece of content that we put out, we want to make sure that we have all of those elements in each piece of content. So go back and watch session one if you want to have a little bit more along those lines or more information about that. Then in session two, we really started to get into the different types of stories that you can tell. So, as we all know, stories sell, right? So, we talked about 2 different types of stories and we kind of came up with a framework. So, the spark story is the story about your business. So, it's the story about how the business started, what the purpose of the business is, uh, really aligning with the audience that you have that you're trying to connect with, reliving it, recalling certain details, things that you do inside the business. And all of this gets framed within this kaleidoscope. What I mean by that is, and again, you can watch session two, is all the different senses, making sure that we touch, again, their head and their heart, their hands and their feet, making them see it, imagine it, feel it. So it's really just talking about making these stories come to life so they can really connect with them. So that's one type of story, kind of about the business, about your business. The other type of story that we talked about was a victory arc story. Now, these a lot of people call like a client story or maybe they do a white paper on it, a case study. But victory arc stories are stories about something that you did for one of your clients that made a difference. So the first thing we do is align and connect. We identify the problems, we connect with the audience. Then, of course, we relive and recall some of the processes used, the individual methodologies that you apply to that particular client. And then, of course, we celebrate. We celebrate that victory, hence the victory story, what impact it made and the results that you got. So those are two different types of stories that we talked about. There's a lot of other different kinds of content you can create. So what we're going to do is we're going to create kind of your company notebook, your persona, so to speak. We're going to decide what pillars you maybe want to use in your content as you go forward to this point. And then I'm going to show you how to utilize AI to really help you create all those content drafts. Now remember, it's only going to get you 80% of the way. You still have to add the human side, your stories into it. It's going to help you get started and kind of avoid the blank page syndrome, not knowing what to write or what to write, and help you create a calendar. Now, in session two, I believe we talked about supply chain pillars, and I gave you a bunch of different pillars from speaking about reliability, dependability, resilience, crisis management, quality control, all the different things to employee, right? The different people that you have working inside, get to know the team. But these are all different things, different kind of topics in the supply chain industry that I researched through the power of AI to find out what are some of the topics that the supply chain industry is interested in, all the way from raw materials through manufacturing, logistics, all the things, quality control. These are what people want to know. So when they are partnering with you in the supply chain industry, they want to know how you deal with these things. Well, that's a great opportunity for content. So what I want you to do right now is just look at this list, jot down like three of them that kind of speak to you and something that your company really holds up as a strong pillar in your company. Just write those down. We're gonna do something with them in just a little bit. Okay. The next thing we want to do is I want you to open four tabs on your browser. I want you to open your company's LinkedIn profile page. I want you to open your company's website. I want you to open up the AI tool called Notebook LM. And hopefully, if you registered, you got an email that asked you to go ahead and set up your free account for that. Not do that really quick. It's just a free account. And then also open up ChatGPT. Again, I think we sent out an email if you pre-registered, but if you didn't or you're watching this later on as a webinar, go ahead and open up ChatGPT, sign up for the free version of that. So go ahead and get those four tabs open on your desktop. All right. Now, Ralph, you can go ahead and stop sharing the slideshow because I now want to share my screen so that we can actually play and do some stuff around here. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see what I'm doing so you can follow along. So this is Notebook LM. It starts here and just ignore the ones that I have there, but you're going to do create new. Now I already created one called supply chain. So I'm going to just kind of go right into that. Now you notice on the left-hand side, you can add sources. These sources are where this brain, this persona that you're creating for your company is going to get its information. So ChatGPT, goes out to the world and gathers information from everything. But Notebook LM, we're saying, hey, we want you to only use these sources in order to that's the brain that we want you to use when we're asking you to do things. So you're going to just click add a source, and then it's going to tell you. You can do a Google document. So if you have like your vision, mission statement, or your core values, you could upload that as a document. If you have a slideshow that explains what your company does, you could add your slideshow in here. We're going to add some links to websites in just a second. And again, if you just had some text, there's some copied text that you want to add, you could do that here as well. But we're going to click website. And what I want you to do is just go out to your website, get on like this is the white paper page of Supply Chain Brain. So it has a lot of information on here. I'm just going to copy the URL. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to paste it in and I'm going to insert that as a source. Now, I've already inserted in Supply Chain Brain's main homepage, and I've also already entered in LinkedIn. What I did on LinkedIn is I just came to the main page where all the different posts are. So you want to get to the page that has all your posts, copy that, and put it into here as a source. So I have three different documents right now that I'm having a look at. You could have 10, you could have 20, you could have a lot. I think the free version goes up to like 50 sources. All right, so you have some sources in here. That's the brain. Then what I want you to do is go over to the right-hand side and click Briefing Document. When you click Briefing Document, what it's doing is it's looking at those sources and it's briefing you, right? So it's giving you a brief on Supply Chain Brain, okay? So your company. So I can just click on that and you can see it gives me a whole, it just took all that information and it just broke it down for me. Okay, it broke down the different things that it talks about, all the different categories that it's really focusing in on, and it just gives me this really great document. Now I can convert that to a source so that it can stay and remain there as much as I want. Okay? All right, so then you can start asking it in the center section, you can start asking it questions. For instance, you could ask it, please give me 5 social media posts about um, crisis management, and how supply chain brain navigates. Navigates. I can type. Navigates that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to give you 5 social media posts about crisis management. So post number 1, navigating a global trade war. Post number, talk about Trump, right? Post number 2, weaponizing the weaponization of supply chains. Is that the new normal? So it's kind of newsjacking a little bit here off some things that it saw on our LinkedIn, probably about Trump and the tariffs and all those different things. Tesla's in here. So it kind of starts to give you some ideas. Now, these numbers are showing you exactly where it came from. Okay, so you can kind of go back to your original source if you wanted to. You'll also notice it went ahead and gave you some hashtags to use: crisis management, supply chain, trade war. So it's going out and it's kind of giving you some ideas to use for your hashtags. Now, hashtags, of course, are how you can start to tap into things that people are searching for on social media. So if somebody goes on a social media and they do hashtag risk management, your stuff will come up if you have that hashtag on your social media. So it starts to, so you can see how this can really be useful in helping you, again, take those topics that we wrote down 3 and moving it over here using your brain to create some social media posts for you. All right. Now, once you do this, you can always save this to the notes, right? So now over here, you can see I went ahead and saved it. So I can actually now have it saved, go in, copy it, paste it over to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Now, I could also do this back over here. I could say, great, thanks. I always want to be polite to it, right? Please expand number, let's just pick one, number 3. Let's do number 4 to a full article. So this is if you have a blog or a newsletter or something where you want more of a full article about number 3. And you can see now it created an entire article for me. Okay, it's a short article, but it's still an article. All right, so that is another way that you can now take that. Only you know, it's 80% of the way there. You still have to add some stuff to it. Maybe you could add a client story. Maybe you could add a victory arc story to this. Maybe you could add something about one of your employees and how they made a difference on one of these different points in here. So this is different ways that you can actually use Notebook LM, again, by creating your brain and then asking it questions. So now before we move on, Ralph, I want to know, are there any questions that have come in on the Q&A about this? Oh, I hear you. I think you're on mute.
I'm just going to give it to you the way the questioner asked it. I
Okay.
do a lot of trade shows.
Mhm.
How can I apply what you're talking about to that?
To the trade shows. Okay. So you can say, um, I am attending a trade show about, give me like what the trade show's about.
Yeah, so home delivery world.
Okay, about home delivery services. Please give me 5 ideas to have at my booth for engagement with attendees. How's that? Okay.
Perfect.
All right, let's try that. And let's see what it says. Feel like we should have the Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. Okay, here we go. Interactive technology demo. Right. So it says, hey, have an interactive technology dinner about optimization software, real-time tracking and visibility tools. Maybe solve the delivery challenge game, some kind of a puzzle or interactive screen that they have to do. The future of home delivery vision board, sustainability and delivery. So see, it gave you some really interesting delivery or some interesting ideas. So then you could say, I love idea. I love the idea about a puzzle. Please expand. And then it'll give you more details about how to create that puzzle game for your trade show
Very
booth.
cool. Very
Okay.
cool. All
Yeah.
right.
So
So
it gives you an idea for a physical and an idea for digital. You could do scoring, all the different things.
oh, I like it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the other question was, as it relates to what you were talking about with social and LinkedIn, the questioner said, how can I be more specific about a program within my company? In other words, maybe they just want to pick one product.
Yeah. So if you have that product, what you could do is, first of all, you would put the information about that product in the source, right? You should add it as a source. So maybe you have one page on your website that is dedicated to that product, or maybe you have a slideshow, or maybe you have a pamphlet or a document or a PDF that is specifically about that project. First, you would put that in as a source. Okay. Then in the middle section, you would say, please refer to this program, this project, this thing that we do, and give me XYZ ideas, or give me some Twitter, um, posts that I could do on Twitter about that. So if you have the source in there and it can see it, then you can ask it specifically about
Perfect.
something you have.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so this is how you can really do a lot of things just within your own kind of company's brain, so to speak. But let's go back up here and let me just grab this one here, this article. So I'm going to actually copy this article that we had at right. Okay, I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. Now, this is my ChatGPT, and if you see over here on the left-hand side, I've created different brains. So I created a marketing guru brain, a thought leadership brain, and this is because this is the kind of stuff I do. I'm a business strategist. So I've put a lot of my stuff into different brains over here. But you don't have to, right? You can just use plain old GPT, which is what I'm doing right here. I'm not using any of my specific brains. I'm just using ChatGPT's brain. And I can ask it now to take this article, um, written by my company, and expand it using world knowledge. Okay. And then you just paste it in there. And now what it's going to do is it's going to take what you wrote with just your brain and it's going to expand it to look at different perspectives that are out there on the internet and give you another article that allows you to actually expand it kind of further. And then you can go through and you can really find different places that you could tweak it, make sure that it's still you and still really speaks and brings people back to your business. But you notice here it says, as reported in think tank section of supply chain brain. So now it's actually even like using you as a source, even though it's also going out into the world and finding other information about the same topic. All right. So it gives you a whole longer article about whatever it was that we're talking about without, I can't remember what it was. Okay. Also goes out to like joint industry networks like CargoNet, TAPA, NCBFFA. I don't even know what those are. I'm sure you do. But it gives you also now places, if you didn't know what those are, now you should go look them up, right? Because it might be a good place to actually get some leads. All right. So we can also use ChatGPT, in other words, to help us with this kind of work. All right. So now what we want to do is we want here. So now we've kind of talked about how we can take a specific thing like crisis management, right? And get some social media posts out of it, an article out of it, all the things. Well, now we could actually have it create a whole month's worth of ideas for posts, right? So please create a sample 30-day social media topic calendar with crisis management. And then I'm going to pick two others: industry trends and automation implementation is included. Right. So it's going to take three of our pillars that we are interested in: crisis management, industry trends, and the implementation of automation in, say, manufacturing or whatever. And it's going to give us 30 days. It doesn't have to do one per day, right? This could be day one, like February 1st, and then your day two could be February 5th, right? It doesn't matter. It's just it's giving us 30 different things. And again, you could have it expand any of these. These are almost Twitter size, right? Or Instagram kind of size. But you could expand these into more, a little bit longer for like LinkedIn. You just ask it to expand it, or you yourself could expand it. Again, it's giving you sample hashtags to use. So that's one thing that that this really helps with, is getting over that hump of what to write about, what to post, and it gave us 30 days. Okay. You can even ask to put it in a chart. Please put this in a chart. Okay, and it'll actually put it into a chart. Sometimes this takes a little bit longer, but there it is. So it gave us the week, the topic, and the relevant hashtags. So if you had a VA or somebody doing this, you could go in here and then she could easily just check things off as she goes, or goes ahead and post those. You can also ask it to now, like you could say, now expand all of them into a little bit longer social media posts, and it'll expand every single one of them into a longer social media post. All right, so that's a lot on just content. So let's take another pause. Let me answer any other questions, and then we're going to move on to something to help you with competitor analysis and prospecting analysis.
Yeah, no, this is great. So the one question that came in, you actually just touched on, and that is how this helps with the branding versus the content versus the lead gen and what those connections are.
Yeah, yeah. So branding, obviously, right? Because you're getting your message out there. So you're picking the different pillars that you really, kind of claim your stake on, that make you different in the industry. So that's a given. Marketing, of course, marketing is one of those things that people kind of, it's a little gray area of like what's marketing, what's prospecting, how, kind of how do we look at that? What's branding? How's it all different? But marketing is really, like we said before, not only touching their heart and touching their mind, their head, but also now marketing is really starting to get into kind of moving their feet, getting them to take some type of an action. Doesn't mean it's prospecting 100%. It just means it's getting them thinking, getting them to feel something, getting them to actually make some kind of movement towards getting further connected with you for a longer term relationship. And then prospecting, that lead generation, is really targeting in on specific people that you want to really have a meeting with, really come one to one with, really develop that relationship. And we'll kind of get into that in just a second. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. Yeah, I like that the audience is trying to figure out, because obviously at Global Supply Chain Marketing Group we have the five rings of marketing, and I like that they're trying to figure out how the rings connect with one another. So thank you
Yeah,
for that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so now let's go into something a little bit different. So I'm going to lean on Ralph here for a second. Ralph, give me a kind of a competitor of supply chain brain. Who is somebody that kind of, maybe not direct competitor, because I know there's not a lot that does exactly what they do, but give me somebody that I can look up their
Supply chain now.
website. Supply chain now. All right, all right. Who they say they're the number one voice.
Oh
I have
yeah.
to, yeah, might have to question them on
And
this.
I love Scott. Don't get me wrong. That's the reason I picked him, is I'm friends with the owner and publisher of the company.
All right, let's start a new chat in ChatGPT, and let's ask it to compare. So this is what you can do with your competitors. See how you're different. Compare and contrast supply chain brain with supply chain now. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is go over here and remember how we did the uh, briefing document. I'm just going to copy this briefing document for supply chain brain. Okay, I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, here is supply chain brain. Okay. And then I'm going to go out here to supply chain now. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to go back to notebook LM. I'm actually going to create a new notebook about supply chain, only about supply chain now. Put that in there. And again, I could go out and get their LinkedIn and I could get a few more things, but for our purposes here today, we're just going to do a briefing document on this. And the reason why we have to use both of them is ChatGPT won't scrape a website. So you would have had to just like click and hold and copy everything on the website page and paste it into ChatGPT. But if you do it in here, you can just do the URL, have it create a briefing document for you so it does the heavy lifting, and then copy it, and then come back over to ChatGPT and say, here is supply chain now. Give it that document, and now it's going to do a compare and contrast of our two. So we can see where we're similar, where we're different, right? And it's going to tell us, here's a high level summary. It's giving it to us in a chart, which is wonderful because I didn't ask it to do a chart, but you can. Obviously, it decided that was the best way to do it anyway. So here's the key themes and focus areas for both the different companies so we can see how we are different or how we're similar. Platform media strategies that we do. This can give you lots of ideas how to do things. So Supply Chain Now has a ton of podcasts, Supply Chain Brain, articles, white papers, and industry briefs, although they're moving into more webinars. So that's really good. Community and brand positioning, again, the different things. And then here's the concluding contrast. So now it asks you, what else you might want. And so you can say, great, thanks. We are supply chain brain. How can we stand out from supply chain now? And it's going to tell us some ideas of how you could set yourself apart from supply chain now. Okay. So our strategic advantage is depth, authority, and strategic foresight. I was going to say double down on strategic analysis. So these are the ways that we can actually be different. Okay. Now, doesn't mean you agree with it. You might not want to be that. That might not be the direction you want to go, but that's a really good thing to know because what it's saying is, according to what you just told me, that's already out there in the world, this is where you can stand out to be different. If that's not where you want to be different, then you have a problem with what you've put out into the world, right? So this comparing and contrasting and kind of finding out where you are in a competitive advantage concept is invaluable, right? It's so important to know because it's agnostic, right? It doesn't know you. It doesn't have a vested interest in you or your business. It's just telling you what's out there. Questions about that, Ralph?
No, we don't have any questions for what you
Okay.
just went over.
Okay, great. Okay, so another really cool thing about Notebook LM, let's go back to our supply chain brain, okay? And let's say that now give me, Ralph, if you could give me somebody that supply chain brain would be trying to prospect as a client.
Okay, let's do Locus Robotics.
Is it LO Locus Robotics? Okay.
There you go.
All right. So Locus Robotics, I'm going to go to their page. And then what I want to do is I actually want to go to their posting page. So I'm going to do show all posts and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my little supply chain brain, right? I'm going to add it as a source. Okay. Give it a second. All right. Now I want to ask it, um, we want to prospect Locus Robotics. Please give me, give me their top 5 concerns we could speak to. And it's going to actually go out and look at Locus Robotics and all the posts that they have and kind of determine what they're interested in. And then it's going to look at your brain and it's going to say, okay, where do these things line up? So addressing warehouse worker shortages and labor costs, that's what they're interested in. So that's something I could have a talking point with them. So these are different talking points that I could have when I go in to talk to the people at Locus Robotics. Right now, what this does is this now says, okay, so if I want to get the attention of Locus Robotics, right? These are maybe 5 articles I want to write. These are maybe 5 social media posts that I want to do. And then I want to be able to reach out to Locus Robotics and say, hey, George, CEO of Locus Robotics or whoever it is, we just wrote an article about addressing warehouse worker shortages. And I know that Locus Robotics makes a big difference in this area. Love to have a conversation with you about the article and blah, 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 blah. And then you try to get this one-on-one, conversation going about something they care about something that you care about. It's a mutual thing and you can collaborate on. And then hopefully they would then start using your products or however that works. Okay. So this is a really good prospecting tool, plus gives you really good content ideas that's going to be directly, you know, targeting somebody that you want to do business with. So rather than just these blanket ideas of like, this is what supply chain brain does, these are the kinds of things that we talk about. It's like, yes, we can do that. But then specifically for your company, we are concerned about this. We are concerned about that. We want to partner with you on this. We can help you with that, and finding those different niches and different ways to come in to their world. And then you can tag them. So say you put the article on LinkedIn, okay, which, by the way, you all should have a LinkedIn newsletter. But say you have that on one of your LinkedIn newsletters. You can go in and in the comments, you could tag them, you know, hey, Ralph, just wrote this article, thought you would be interested in it. And what's even better is if you can actually cite something about their company in it, right? So, like, say you wrote an article about seamless integration with existing warehouse systems, and you know that Locus Robotics has a solution for something in that. In the article, if you can kind of give them a pat on the back and then tag them in the article, that's gold because that's third party credibility for them to send out to their network. And when they send that out to their network, guess what you're getting? You're getting piggyback credibility, right? So it's a win win for everybody. All right. Questions about that, Ralph?
No, we don't have any questions on that so far.
Okay, great. So, these are just really fun, different ways to do all different kinds of. This is really prospecting. So there's partly marketing here and partly prospecting in here. Okay, one of the other things that you can also do if you go into, let's see, let's go to Locus Robotics website. Okay, good, they have one. Always good. I've done these before and they didn't have a website. So, okay, they have like a blog. So we can click on their blog, get that, come back over here to um, our brain here, add it as a source. Actually, before we do that, let's actually go to ChatGPT. Let's just start a new one and go back over here. And you can just do a click and drag, like I said before, on a few of them, right? You can only do a few. Go into ChatGPT and say, please analyze, oops, please analyze what they are interested in. And it'll kind of take a look at some of those blog headlines and tell them what again, what they're interested in: warehouse automation, advanced technology, AI, legal and business strategy, and human factors. So again, ChatGPT can do it as well. It just doesn't put your brain into it on top of what they're doing. Okay. Over here with my brain over here, if we actually did something similar, but we just took the URL, I'm just going to show you a comparison. We took the URL and we just put it into this part and we said, please analyze what Locus is speaking about, and just put it in here with just the URL. I'll show you. It also comes up with a bunch of things, but it actually gives you, in my opinion, a little bit more detail. Okay. And again, it does source different things. Okay. So then you could say, you could just copy this right here, copy, go down here and say, please write an email to the CEO of Locust regarding this topic and how supply chain brain can collaborate with them. And then paste that in there, and it'll come up with an email that you could then send to the CEO of Locust Robotics that you're from Supply Chain Brain, da 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 da, flexible warehouse automation, and it would just go on and on and on and on. This is probably a little bit long of an email. So you could ask it to shorten it, right? So, but this is the different kinds of things that you can do to even help with your prospecting or your networking or that kind of thing. So again, the power of AI only gets you about 80% there. If you read this, you're probably going to see some things that are like, not really loving that. And that's okay. You can change it, right? You can take some things out, you can ask it to modify it, but it's always going to give you the sources so you can go back and kind of verify the information. Okay. ChatGPT. Okay. So remember, Notebook LM is only looking at the sources that you gave it. ChatGPT is going out into the world, to the big, large language models out in the world. And so it's going to bring in stuff, and it has what we call hallucination, right? So sometimes it'll even give you like a case study of like Julie, and you don't even know a Julie, right? So it'll just like make stuff up. And if you ask it things like, hey, who's Julie? Or where did you get this? It'll say, well, it hasn't happened yet, but there could be somebody out there. It could be an example. So you have to watch for some AI hallucinations sometimes. So be careful with that. And also make sure you check your sources. So there's another one called Perplexity, and it's kind of like ChatGPT, but it actually cites sources. So you can go back and verify different sources. Like if it gave you a statistic or something like that, it'll tell you where it got it. ChatGPT will too if you ask it to. So Perplexity kind of does it automatically, whereas this one doesn't necessarily do it automatically all the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. All right. It seems like there was one other thing that we wanted to go over.
While you're
Um,
thinking about it, we had another
yeah.
question come in that I
Okay, great.
think is kind of cool. Now, it might be out of scope, and it's okay if
Okay.
it is, just let her know. But
Okay.
first of all, I love that ChatGPT makes stuff up. That's hilarious. So everybody who's watching and listening to this needs to know you need to go over this stuff to make sure you know you have credible sources and that you know what's in the content. But the questioner is asking, because I think where she's coming from is she likes the prospecting part of it. So now she creates an ICP. She's going to a trade show. She knows some of the people that she wants to target. How can she connect those things? ICP to trade show to people that are going to know have this put together a, oh, here's the folks you want to go after based on your ICP, and oh, by the way, here's how you go after them.
Yeah. So I think if you put the information in there of like what you're looking for and the exact person that you're trying, the ideal client that you're looking for, and then you can just upload or copy, like a lot of the conferences now put like all the names of the people that are coming, right? So you just like copy that. You could even go out to every single one of those websites and put those in, right? If you wanted to, you could put all those websites in as sources and then say, give me the top 10 people that I really need to have a conversation with based on these criteria. And it will tell you. And then you can say, great, now you said I needed to connect with Ralph. Give me 5 talking points to talk to Ralph about. Oh, you're on mute. Ralph, you put yourself back on mute.
I got to
There you
tell
go.
you, Melissa, this is gold. You know,
Good.
for this industry that I've been in since 1991, you know, our challenge has always been the narrow niche, wide market thing. So the fact that we now have a tool where we can create what we know based on experience, who our ideal clients are, you know, who did we like? Who were we most profitable with? You know, who did we engage with the longest? Now we have that and we can compare it to the people we're going to see. Now marketing all of a sudden can work with sales to say, hey, here are the top 10 prospects I want you to go after. And oh, by the
Hmm.
way, here's how you're going to position yourself for each one
Mhm.
of these. That's really
Yep.
powerful.
And the really cool thing is if you do, say you do 10, right? And you say, okay, now give me the top 5 talking points for this particular person. Chances are there's going to be a golden thread.
Right.
There's going to be something that all 10 of them want to know. Well, now you know what needs to be at your trade show booth.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. I just got
Yeah,
chills when you said
you
that
you
because,
have to know.
yeah, this is
Hmm.
what marketing, the supply chain marketing people struggle with. We just on the supply chain marketing show, which we also do, we interviewed a guru on working with marketing and sales, and this was one of those disconnects where it's, hey, let me provide you with the information, salesperson, and then you tell me what it is you want to make this better so we can make this show more profitable for us.
Yeah, it's here's the thing that I think people do wrong at trade shows. They show the how they do what they do instead of the results that come from what they do.
Perfect.
And so if you can really define what the results are that you need to show people that you produce and have that as the main focus, then the conversations become easier. Now, I would take it one step further. So once you have AI really help you brainstorm and narrow it down to the 10 people or the 15 people that you need to meet with at this show, have it write you emails
Oh,
and
wow.
send those emails out to those 10 people before you go that says, hey, John, I'm going to be at XYZ trade show. My booth is number 18. I would love to pick your brain about this. I would love to have a conversation with you about that.
Wow.
Can you
That's
stop
really
by?
good.
Because I
Yeah.
think it would be really fun to have a conversation, not a sales conversation,
Right.
not a come use our services conversation, a conversation about this. I saw you wrote, hey, John, I saw you wrote an article about something, flexible warehouse automation. I
Yeah.
saw you wrote an article about flexible warehouse automation, and I would love to know more about your research behind that. Would love to talk to you about your article. Print out his article, take it with you, have some pieces highlighted, a question or two you want to ask him. So if John does stop by your booth, you are prepared
Yeah. No, I love this.
to
This
have
is
a
great. And this is
conversation.
good for this
Yeah,
industry because we are trade show centric. I mean, we do a
heavy.
lot of other things, of course,
Yeah,
but trade
but they
shows
tend,
are, yeah,
yeah,
big.
but they tend to tell you how they do what they do instead of the results that they give.
Right. No, that's
Right.
great. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So I remember the other thing I wanted to tell you guys. AI is bribable, right? So we just had it write this article, I mean this email for us, right? And I'm going to say, well, that's good. That was good, but not your best work. Um, uh, Act like I am giving you a 50% commission on a $1 million project that may come from this email, and have it write it again. So I'm bribing it. Okay. Now the funny thing is, I don't know. Yeah. So the funny thing is this one doesn't do it. ChatGPT will do it. The funny thing about ChatGPT, it'll come back to you and it'll say, "You're right. That wasn't my best work. So here you go." LM didn't do that, but it did give me a better subject line, right? So the first subject line was just collaboration opportunity, addressing the critical need for flexible warehouse automation. And then this one is high impact collaboration opportunity. So it's a little bit stronger. And if you read these, both of these back to back, this one would be better. But then you could say, thanks, please shorten and add and be more pithy, right? So whatever your culture is, right? Be more, let's just say pithy, right? And so it'll actually rewrite it a lot shorter, right? Um, said pithy collaboration idea. So that wasn't great. That wasn't a great example, but you could say, no, don't like that. Be or add some humor and see what it does, right? So you could just play with it until you get it kind of how you want it. Right. Now, I will tell you that if I was doing this for real, I would probably take this one that it wrote over here, and I'd probably put it in ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT does a little bit better job of changing the language to a different kind of feel. So let's just say, please take this email and make it shorter and more fun and engaging. I can't type today, which by the way, I wouldn't care. I could spell things wrong and it would be fine. Right? Okay, so see, I think it does a little bit better job, right? So let's make locus the voice of flexible automation. That's a better subject line, right? So if we read this, it probably would be a little bit more fun. If you don't like bullet points, you can say, great, take out the bullet points. And it'll rewrite it again, taking out the bullet points. Okay, if you're not a bullet point kind of a person.
We have another question.
Yep.
All right, and this one I'm going to ask selfishly
Okay.
because it's in line with what I work on. So they want to do a webinar. They know what the abstract of the webinar is. They know what the takeaways of the webinar is. They want to talk about the process of making a subject line that'll make that compelling for somebody to look at the abstract and takeaways, and then
Mhm,
work on the abstract and takeaways so that they have a really nice
mhm.
package of what they put out in the email that you're referring to.
Yeah. So we do that all the time, right? We do it with emails. Because we do email campaign marketing automation. We do it with blogs. We do it with everything. I literally sometimes will sit down in front of like ChatGPT or Notebook LM, and I will just stream of consciousness. Like, this is kind of what I want this webinar to be about. These are some of the takeaways I'm kind of thinking. I'd love to talk about this. Here's an example. And I'm just like, blah, 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 just a bunch of stuff, right?
Perfect.
Just tons of stuff. And some of them even have voice records. So you could actually just record it and it would transcribe it for you. And then you say, please make sense of this. Okay. So that's the first thing. It'll just make sense of it. It'll kind of put it into it like a speaker outline. Right.
Perfect.
And then you'll say, great. Now give me a great title for this. Wonderful. Now give me 3 marketing emails for that. Now write an abstract for the whole thing. Now give me some social media posts to engage people to want to come to this thing.
This is incredible, Melissa.
All you have to do.
Yeah, this is incredible. I mean, I got to tell you, uh, these webinars currently are provided to the supply chain marketing professional as a way of helping them become better. And I got to tell you, we have got to make sure they get their hands on this one. This is very good.
Well, I'm glad. It's been a lot. We've kind of gotten, we did content, but we also did
Yes,
traditional content, right? Which is articles, blogs, LinkedIn, LinkedIn articles, different posts, all that kind of thing. We did kind of get into the other side of content, which people often forget. That's emails.
right.
Like, email content is just as important as your other content, your
Oh
white
yeah,
papers, your case studies, your social media posts. Content is content. Anything that is the written word is really what you should. That's why I
yeah.
wanted to touch on emails.
Okay, no, I appreciate that very much. So thank you
And
for answering that.
absolutely. And one of the fun things to do with either one of these AI tools, ChatGPT or Notebook LM, is to go out to your website of your prospect or your LinkedIn of your prospect, copy it, put it in there, and say, just tell me who these people are. Tell me who they are. Tell me what their mission, vision, and core values are. Tell me what they're interested in. Tell me what they write about. I mean, think about your sales calls, how much easier those would get. If you knew their mission, you knew their vision, you knew their core values, you knew what their major concerns are. Oh my gosh, your conversation would be so much easier if you just knew that. Okay, let's go back to Ralph. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you could go ahead and bring the slideshow back up, we'll just kind of wrap this thing up.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you. My goodness gracious, this has been great. And one of the traditions that we have at the Global Supply Chain Marketing Group is to wrap with asking the subject matter expert or the guru this question, and it's a two-part question. The
Okay.
first is based on all we've talked about this hour, and it's been a lot. What is it that you want the person who bumps into somebody 5 minutes from now and gets asked, what was that webinar about? What do you want them to tell them? So, what is the really burning thing you want them to remember? And then, what is the very next action step that they can do right now? So, what do you want them to remember and what do you want them to do right now?
Yeah. So let's start with the second one. What do I want
Okay.
them to do? So what I want you to do is go out to Notebook LM and create your brain. Like just create the brain. Just copy and paste every page of your website, your LinkedIn, any white papers you've written, all the things, right? Just create your brain. It's going to make your life so much easier. So that's the thing I want everybody to go out and do. The thing I want them to remember is content generation is not difficult. Like using AI to get you 80% of the way there makes your life 80% easier,
Well, no doubt.
right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing about it is our brains have this much capacity to think about what we could write about and how we could connect with our different prospects. We are increasing our capacity tenfold when we bring in AI to help us with that first round, that first draft, that first brainstorm of what to put out there. So that would be what I want them to remember is AI is not a villain, AI is a tool.
I love it. Very cool. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough. This has been, I thought, what's funny, Melissa, is when we got done with episode one, I thought, oh my goodness gracious, that's like the best thing ever. And then we did episode two, and I was like, wow, that's perfect. That lays on top of episode one perfectly. But what you've done here is you've really given them, and I know, it's messy and, convoluted sometimes or whatever. But if you go back and you go through one, two, and three, and we're providing you with the QR codes here, and we'll provide you obviously with the emails with these as well when we follow up with you. I got to tell you, this is so valuable for the folks in our industry, and I'm sure they'll benefit from it now and for the foreseeable future. So definitely, you want to catch episodes one and two, and then of course you can watch this episode again on demand as well. And also, we want you to be able to reach out to Melissa.
Mhm.
We know a lot of you, when you watch these shows, you're like, hey, how do I get a hold of the person doing the presentation? And look, I don't take it personally. It's okay if you don't want to talk to me. So this is the way you reach Melissa. She has given us the ability to connect with her personally, and you want to do that. You definitely want to reach out with her. And then finally, we are doing another show, so you need to know about that. So you can scan the QR code. You can watch this on demand. Certainly you want to get this. So what we're trying to do here for all of you is, give you building blocks to help make what you do better. Because look, at the end of the day, the whole industry wins if you're more developed, you have more capability, and obviously our solutions are more connected with the supply chain. So thank you guys very much. And Melissa, thank you once again for being here. Really appreciate you. And I look forward to the next time we get together.
I do too. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.